Hello there, my name's Barney Black. This is MS's Chronic, and we are joined by Brian Loefell from New York State. This is a transatlantic episode. Brian joined me a few weeks back now, and we talked about his multiple sclerosis journey. He was diagnosed in 2017, oddly enough, the same year I was, and Brian has been pretty active in the MS community ever since. He's an MS activist, he's a district activist leader, he's a USMC vet, he's a big fan, he's a big sports fan of the Knicks, the Giants, he's a NASCAR fan, he's a family man, and he is very, very active, like I say, in the MS community across the States. I'm sure you'll enjoy this episode as much as I did recording it with Brian. So grab yourself a brew, a biscuit, a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Happy listening. Brian?
How you doing?
Man, thank you very much. How are you?
Not too bad. I almost forgot all about it all over again, and then this morning I saw your message. I'm like, don't forget.
You could, honestly, if this isn't convenient, we can reschedule. I just thought I would strike.
This is good. I'm just going to apologize now because I got two dogs who like to be mouthy because they're huskies. So if you hear them bark or whatever.
I saw one. I saw you posted a picture the other day of one of them.
Yeah, that's the husky Australian Shepherd mix. She loves outside. When we used to live in Florida, she used to love the pool and lounge out by the pool. Up here in New York, we don't have the pool anymore.
Man.
So she just lounges out now. She's like, I can still get my son.
Gorgeous looking dogs.
Thank you.
Gorgeous. So, we obviously just connected over Twitter. So, first of all, thank you for hooking up. That was cool. Before I forget, happy belated birthday. It was your birthday a couple of days ago, man. 21 again?
Yeah. I wish I felt 21 again.
I bet. And I saw on your bio, there's loads of things on your bio. The sport interests you've got, the MS warrior, the MS activist. So I don't know how much you know about what I'm trying to do with this podcast, or if you've had a chance to listen or follow anything that I've done.
I have not. I will, like,
Yeah.
I've done a couple of podcasts. So, and I'm telling you what, I'm on a podcast every week with a friend that I met over Twitter from Canada, and we talk about all different things. And I tell her, I said, I am so bad. I said, I am the worst at listening to podcasts. Well, like, I used to do it a lot, like when I used to drive a lot in the car, but here I don't drive a lot, and I'm horrible. I need to, but...
Hey, if you're creating some, what's the one that you do with your friend in Canada called?
It's Crash. It's Crash and Burn.
Crash and Burn. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, so it's cat. Like I've reposted her stuff a lot. And like hers is like a live show, and it's like really no rhyme or reason, like just talking about stuff. I'm going to start now. I've done it for like 2 weeks now, so I'm going to start doing like once. When we're on there, like pick one thing of like a symptom of MS and talk about that. But that's just, it's like I say, it's like a free and easy. Like she has no script or anything else, just fly by the hip. And
well, that's what this is, man. This is exactly the same format. There is no script. I sent you a couple of things just to kind of think about so we could have a starting point, but this is really casual. This is low budget, low tech, So I've called it MS's Chronic because it is, and I've recorded 6 other guests. I've managed to get I did what I set out to do. I wanted to get 6 episodes as a block and put them out as a chunk rather than one episode and try and find someone else to do another episode. So I've been really grateful for the time people have shown. That there's been another American guy. I don't know if you've come across any of his stuff, Damien Washington. He took part in one of the podcasts, and the other 5 have been not too far from where I am. One was on one of the islands in Scotland, Mavis. She her story's quite interesting because she's on an island. Well, Britain's an island, but she's on an island off the west coast of Scotland. So her access to healthcare and support's just a bit tougher. So that was quite interesting. And starting again, season 2, I've got Brian Loefell, is it? Loeffel.
Yep.
You'll be episode 1 in season 2, man.
All right.
So it's been great. I used to, so I'll give you a little bit of background about me. I got diagnosed with MS 2017 after 15 years of various symptoms, but never anything significant enough to kind of stop me in my tracks. But just it kept building up, and the symptoms got worse, I guess, before I was eventually referred to a neurologist. And then when I got diagnosed, I started to make YouTube videos because I felt I wanted to add to the conversation. And then I ran out of stuff to say. I really just began to think I've got nothing to add, because I still consider myself to be at the low end of how MS impacts my life physically. So I stopped doing stuff. I just kind of stepped away from it and just kind of, I guess, got on with life. But it was always there, because it was Tecfidera. It's no longer made by Tecfidera, the one that I do, but the drug that I take, dimethyl fumarate. But I take that AM and PM. So every day I was getting reminded twice a day I've got multiple sclerosis. So it was always there. It was always in the background. And then I thought, well, actually it's probably more important that other people can be heard. Whether they've got their own outlet already, which it sounds like you've got something going on, or just sharing real people's stories, because a lot of it I found can be either really, really clinical, it can miss a lot of the nuances on what it is to live with MS, even your family that's around you, what the impact is for them. So that's why we're here today doing this. It's just a chat talking about your journey, how it ended up being diagnosed as MS, you as a guy telling folk who you are, what you're about. Obviously you're here, you're obviously a very colourful guy. So who is Brian Loeffel?
So actually, like you, I was diagnosed in 2017.
Oh, wow.
So well, let me tell you, it took a year to diagnose.
Okay.
Now, a lot of that was I was seeing the VA. The first doctor that I saw didn't believe any of the symptoms I had. In fact, after 6 months, he told me to stop coming to it. It was all in my head. Went to patient advocate, because you are your best patient advocate, but the Veterans Affairs has a patient advocate. Went there, laid out my grievances, was mad. They understood it. They were like, okay, this is going on too long. They gave me another doctor.
Sorry, what was your symptom? What were your symptoms?
So I woke up October 2016. I woke up. I had neuropathy all down my right arm, both shoulder blades, both feet.
Wow. Which,
if you ever have neuropathy in the feet, putting on socks and shoes is almost unbearably painful.
Yeah.
So I went there. Now I thought, okay, hey, I slept wrong. Let me take a nice hot shower, get it worked out. Well, then it comes, a few hours later, I'm still feeling, I'm like, this isn't right, Yeah. So now I get a little worried, because I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So went to the doctor. They gave me, of course, some muscle relaxers, and not even the strong ones, like the bare minimum. A couple days later, still nothing happening. So I'm like, I'm going to go to the ER. I'm going to outsmart these people. Because at this time, I'm like, I probably have a pinched nerve.
Yeah.
So let me go to the ER. They'll tell me, I'll slap it down for the VA. Boom. Here's what it is. Of course, I get no answers from there. They took like CAT scans, everything else, and they're like, yeah, you're probably right, but we can't diagnose that. I'm like, all right. So then started the thing, 6 months, they're going all the way to February. At one point they did conduction test on the wrist because they were like, you probably got carpal tunnel. I'm like, that still doesn't, explain the shoulders. Now my feet went away after a couple of weeks, so that was good. I only had to deal with that for a couple of weeks, and that went away. So then, like I said, the conduction test, that was the only thing. Then February, when I went again, she was like, why are you here again? I'm like, because, at this point, it was still from my right elbow to my fingertips. I'm like, I still have, there's still pins and needles in my arms. Something's going on. So finally I get mad enough. That's when I went, of course, went to the patient advocate. 2 weeks later, I see a doctor. 2 weeks after that, I get the MRI because they didn't even mess around. They knew all how we was mad and how we were already behind the 8 ball anyway. So they just did the MRI, which was funny because they scheduled it for Saturday. I'm like, well, I got to take the first one because I did all this complaining and you can't, say, oh, no, can't. It was Saturday evening. I did the MRI. They called me Monday morning. I'm like, okay.
That's quick.
It's got to be something. I said it was probably a combination of what they did. They knew what it was. Plus, they knew how everything was going. So they probably had it on the docket. Hey, let's get this out. So now here's the funny part. That is they were like, do you know what multiple sclerosis is? Because that's what you probably have. Well, me, growing up with the, I don't know if they were there, but here in the United States, they had the Jerry Lewis, not the singer, Jerry Lewis telethons for muscular dystrophy. And I'm like, I'm going to be in a wheelchair because that's the first thing, even though it's completely wrong. Then I had to figure out what MS was.
Yeah.
They're like, don't worry, you're not going to die. And I'm like, oh, that's the best news you can. Anyways, I did 3 more MRIs, and then I did the lumbar puncture.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if you ever have to get that, drink lots of fluids because I did it and I was done for. I went to the emergency room again. They were like, yeah, drink lots of fluids. So, drank Gatorade, Pedialyte, everything else, and then I was good. It was like a horrible hangover.
Yeah.
So then finally, October 2017, I finally got the official diagnosis. Now here, I'm on Gilenya, so it's just a once-a-day pill.
Yeah.
So I take that every day. I've been on it for 6 years. It's good. I've declined a little bit, but not enough. They've been questioning for a year whether they want to change my medicine again.
Yeah.
But because I have no new lesions, not any new symptoms, but because I have no really new lesions, they want to stay on that because they're like, it's working. As long as it's working, we don't want to change it. So I know the good thing for me is I don't pay for my medication. It's all through the VA. I know there's a lot of people out there, and just not the U.S., but a lot of people can't, the drugs are expensive. Let's face it, multiple sclerosis is not cheap.
Yeah.
My pills, I checked on my pills just because, I was doing it on drug prices and, we'll go more on this later. But, right now we're with the MS Society, we're building into next year. We're going to talk about, pharmacy benefit managers and the drug prices and everything else because, MS here in the States, the average cost of the disease-modifying drugs are $93,000 a year.
Jesus.
Crazy. Mine is about 100,000, I think, a year.
I think.
Now see, here's the thing. Now, I looked on GoodRx. Now, GoodRx is the thing here where you could look at it, get it, whatever. Which it said Gilenya is anywhere, in some places was $10,000 a month. So that's 30 pills, 1 month's supply, $10,000. But there's like 2 places you can get it where it's only like $300. And it's like, well, why is it $300 there? And that's because the pharmacy, CVS is one of the largest and one of the worst ones. Like they're charging umpteen times more for MS meds. They were just called out on that, and there goes the dogs. They were just called out on that, but it's crazy, It's
that's nuts. You'll know. Sorry, you'll know that in Britain we've got the National Health Service, so everything people will say that's why we pay our taxes and our national insurance. But I didn't need to have insurance to get the drugs that I get. I didn't need to have any kind of payment plan. It's all there. It's all part of living in Britain and having the National Health Service. I did check out what I was interested to see what my drugs cost, and it's nowhere near what your costs are. But I think it's about £38,000 a year, which is 800 tablets because it's 2 tablets a day. So yes, that's still not cheap, but in America it sounds like they've got ways of making things even more expensive.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You're in Scotland, right?
Yeah. Hence the Highland coup.
So I just remember I had a friend come from Australia. Right now here it's a lot more in the last couple of years. Like every other commercial is for like MS.
Yeah.
Which I had a friend who had a nurse come from Australia, and she was surprised. They're like, we don't have all these drug commercials in Australia. There's none there. They're like, you don't know about all this. Like here, and it's just more than MS. I mean, it's MS, it's diabetes, all these commercials for the drug things, and it's. The fight right now is to try to get, we finally, some people got for Medicare capped the insulin, and I can't speak on that because I haven't researched it, but we finally capped insulin, but now we got to go after these medications. Mark Cuban, I don't know if you know who Mark Cuban is, owner of the Dallas Mavericks basketball team here.
Yeah, okay.
He started his own medical scene, and he's got a bunch of, the drugs, and he does it a lot cheaper. Like he takes out the middleman, takes out, the price. And, because, people, if you're taking some of these MS meds, and in about 2 years, 3 years, you paid more for the MS drugs than you have on the mortgage of your house.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's insanely crazy. And the fact that we have people here deciding, am I going to put food on my table, or am I going to take the medicine to help me? It's not. It should not be like that.
No, that's crap.
And I know, we're the only first world country in the world that does not have, any of the universal health care.
Yeah.
Now I get it, and I've talked to people about that. You got the issues, over across the pond. You have the issues in Canada. But okay, look at the issues. Let's figure it out and make it better here.
I tell you. I mean, we've had it. What we've got began in 1947, 1948, I think, and it was a different world. Never mind a different century back then. But still, and there's a lot of people will probably for justifiable reasons complain about how the service has deteriorated over the years. The funding's changed. There's definitely privatisation coming in the back door. There's lots of kind of lobbyists going on with different pharmaceutical companies and the politicians. They're all together because the less that the government has to invest, the more they can spend on other crap. But for me personally, it's really the only reason that I've had to use the NHS. Getting the lumbar puncture, getting the MRIs, getting the various kind of tests through the years, up to seeing a neurologist, never mind just the doctor. And at no point have I ever had to think about, is my insurance in check? Do I need to go and see about funding? Can I afford 6 months of treatment? Blah, blah, blah. You just turn up, see the doctor, and get your stuff. And I don't think I appreciate just how straightforward and how easy and hassle-free it is when you listen to obviously what the American experience is as well as elsewhere in the world. And the scary thing is when our NHS is more privatised than what it is now, and it becomes much more of an insurance type based service, because I can see that happening. People are going to start to bitch like hell when they should be bitching now about it, because it's coming. No, those changes are coming. Those costs are going to start to impact on us in 5-10 years time. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, and like I said, I've seen some of the stuff, and like I said, I follow a lot of people there, so I've seen a lot of the posts about the NHS and the back and forth, and it's
I've
As
not
much
had
as
but
I
praise.
do
I've,
too,
I've not had but praise from my personal experience with NHS. I know people have had other experiences, but without it, I think people would be surprised just how difficult it could be.
yeah. Well, the thing is here too. You have money here, you're gonna get the top. You're gonna get the top
Yeah,
graded care, unfortunately. But for the majority of the people, like, we don't have that luxury.
no,
And it's like, as well, my wife hates to say, it is what it is. Like I said, okay, we don't have it. But we can see, but unfortunately, the politicians. You got the ones on you got both sides. No matter
yeah,
what country you're from, you still have both sides, and my side's better, your side's not. And
yeah. It's too much
but
polarization in the politics.
yeah,
There's a lot of, like MS. There's lots of nuances,
you know, and I will say and I'm jumping subjects here. So I do like I said, and I brought up, with the, I'm an activist with the MS Society, so I
Yeah,
do it at the state and the federal level. All right, and I will say that, I met with staff and politicians from both sides,
yeah.
and even though they're far apart, it's very easy to get everyone on the same page when it comes to medical stuff with funding and everything else.
That's good.
So that I gotta say is easy. Now, there's some bickering, of course, and a lot of the bickering is like little stuff.
Yeah,
You know, that becomes like, could become big stuff. But
yeah.
we're starting to get there. We're getting agreement more and more, and
So,
we're getting,
so Brian, you've been on a bit of a journey then. So your symptoms appeared 2017,
2016.
2016, diagnosed 2017,
Yep.
and
So
Gilenya. How quickly from diagnosis did you start to take Gilenya?
1 year.
Okay, was that because it wasn't an option, or were you still thinking about what you were going to do?
Well, hold on. Well, let me take that back. So
Right,
it took me 1 year to die. It took me a year to diagnose me. Once they diagnosed me, it was like a month. Now,
right, okay,
I had to stay in the hospital overnight, because they wanted to check my blood pressure and all that, making sure it didn't drop to dangerous levels. And I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. Now, another funny thing is so right in the hospital, they were kind of full on the regular floor.
yeah,
So they told me I was going to spend the night in the intensive care, which that's because that was the only bed available.
wow,
And the nurses were laughing when I came up because they were like, normally the patients that come here, they're not walking in,
yeah,
they're coming in on the journey, they're not doing too well. I said, well, I'm going to be your easiest patient then.
yeah,
And it was funny because my blood pressure wasn't good, and they're like, well, you got to stay a little bit. I'm like, I was so stiff from the hospital bed. I'm like, let me take a walk around and then we'll do it. So I walked around, they took it, they're like, okay, you're good now. I'm like, all right, let's get out of here. And then it's funny because then I had to hurry up because the VA hospital was like 45 minutes from where I live. So I had to hurry up, get in the car, change, go home, shower, change, and then go right to work, which I was late for work, but I mean, they didn't care. They knew what I was doing, where I
yeah,
was coming from. And of course, they were like, don't speed, don't rush. You get here when you get here. You're fine. We know where you're coming. They're like, you have a legit excuse. It's not like, and I talked to them, and I talked to them beforehand. So like I said, they knew it was coming. I didn't call them and say, oh, I'm later than I thought. They knew days beforehand, and they didn't care. And that job that I had, and I was working at a resort here. It was like a timeshare, but it was a hotel as well.
right,
I started out with being a security guard, or excuse me, a bellman. Like people's. Now this wasn't a regular hotel. This was a resort that had like 1,700 rooms on umpteen acres. You had to drive to each of the buildings, and
wow,
it's like a 5 to 7 minute drive. It's not like you're driving,
yeah,
two buildings down. Sometimes it was blocks. So I started as a bellman, then I went to security guard. I was walking the pools and everything. Then I met my wife. Now she lived like an hour away. So I moved there. Luckily enough, they had another resort right there.
right, okay,
So I transferred and did activities there, like games with the kids and everything else, just to get my foot in the door over there so I could work over there. And then I was getting a little bit worse. I was walking with a cane. So they put me at the front desk and they gave me a chair too. Like I said, they were very, and I became the trainer for the whole resort there. Now that resort was only 3 buildings. Well, 2 buildings at first, then they built a 3rd building. So that one was a much smaller resort, of course. There's only like 500 rooms compared to 1,700. But then I was doing front desk, but I kept getting passed over for promotion.
Okay.
Like for management, and I'm like, at that point, like I was doing front desk. I was training all the new hires, no matter what department, for the whole place. I was the thing, but I couldn't get a thing. And I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm not going to be this one person the whole time.
Yeah.
Then I worked at another place. Then they ended up firing me.
What for?
Because,
Why?
They just told me they didn't. They tried to mess around like, hey, you're just,
Yeah.
It was bad because the person who was supposed to train me never trained me. I was trying to train myself.
Right.
So they're like, you're not working here anymore. We don't need your services anymore. So I tried to get him for under the ADA, the American Disabilities Act.
Okay.
But I couldn't because since they had under 15 employees, they were protected you were protected under law. So, but as I say, it was a blessing in disguise. Because I'm like, I'm not going to keep going through this. So I put in for Social Security disability. And then I put in to get my VA disability to 100%. I got both. And I'm like, all right, I'm good. And then I was like, well, I got to do something with my life,
Yeah.
But then I was still in my 30s. I'm like, I need to do something. I can't just sit here and not do nothing in my 30s. As much as people would like it. And, like I said, I do too much. I get yelled at all the time. I'm hard-headed, thick-headed, stubborn, and everything else. Like slow down.
Yeah.
And I still haven't learned. I do too much, and then I'm down, laid up for days. Because I did too much. But that's when I started doing it. Now, like you, I started doing videos. One of my friends was like, why don't you just start putting information out on Twitter? It sounds like a good idea. So I started doing that. And someone from the MS Society happened to see it, and they're like, hey, do you know what an activist is? I'm like, I've heard the word, but no. And then, like I said, it went from there, the last 2 years in March, because here for March is MS Awareness Month.
Yeah.
I went to Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. to talk to legislators, meeting at their office. So I'm meeting just with my state, on the federal level, my state Senate, Senate and House members. I did that for the last 2 years. Now I just started doing it for New York. So that's basically the state level. So meeting with the state assemblyman and the Senate for there to start passing laws more locally, because let's face it, the laws are just as important on your local level as they are at the federal level.
Definitely.
And I'll say that for anywhere. I'm not great into politics, Canada, Scotland, England, wherever, but I think it all stays the same. Your local levels are probably more important than your federal levels, because they're going to impact you even more.
Definitely.
Than that. And so we're working on that stuff. Of course it's slow, especially on an election year. It's
of course, priorities will change. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we got it in hand where we're still getting our message across, which you can very easily get your message across.
Okay. A few questions you've made me think about. First, you're getting diagnosed multiple sclerosis. You've gone from the Jerry Lewis thoughts about muscular dystrophy to finding out what muscular sclerosis is. You've decided to take Gilenya as your drug of choice, I guess. Sounds like about a year, 18 months after that, you've been approached by the MS Society in the US, or certainly in the state, at the state level, to get on board and to get involved. Sounds like you've had a really, really quick education on multiple sclerosis, and not only what it is, but what support there is for it. So, what have been the key learns for you in that short period? What have you learnt about the support? Just what have you learnt in the 3-4 years?
Well, I mean, the support is always there, and funny enough, especially on Twitter, talking to a bunch of people on Twitter, but Google search after Google search after Google search, and then the different symptoms, and then, okay. First, I was surprised about the wide range. Let's go to that first.
Yeah.
So you have, there's four different categories of, those with MS, and we got people who running marathons, winning bronze medals in the Olympics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All the way to, unfortunately, those who are bedridden and stricken, and unfortunately, who, as you know, you don't die of MS, you die of complications from MS.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I've known a few people who had loved ones where that happened to. So, and I hate to put it like this, but I consider myself lucky. I can't do everything. I used to love going out and playing around the golf. Put that six-pack, start playing golf. Can't do that. I can't walk around much. I still get to sporting events, which, hey, I'll go to the race, and I know I'm done for about 3-4 days after him. But I used to say, you know what? Yeah, you say no. You know what? I'm gladly take the pain, because as long as I can do it, I'm going to do it. Because who knows the day I start getting worse? Because even my doctor, even my neurologist, my last neurologist was like, you're a guy. There's a huge chance, a much bigger chance, that you can get, you'll go into the the secondary progress. Excuse me.
So were you diagnosed? Have you been diagnosed with relapsing at the minute?
Relapsing and remitting, yes.
Yeah.
I got between 70% of the people who have MS are in that category, the relapsing and remitting.
Cool.
So I'm like, there's some times where I'm going to make myself hurt on purpose, and I'm going to, because like I said, who knows when I'm going to get worse, and I can't enjoy that anymore.
Yeah, man.
I can't go out, I can't work because even sitting down for long periods of time, just the pain, and I would say if my pain is about 4 or 5 out of a 10, well, that's a good day.
Okay.
Like when people ask me about my pain, like, well, I guess that's not too bad. I'm like, I've learned to live with pain, So if I'm actually hurting, because there's days where, and I'm sure where I'm upstairs in bed and I'm like right there on the threshold of what's the word I'm looking for? In the fetal position. I'm right there, almost fetal position, and nothing helps, and I'm just like, I hate this.
Yeah.
And then the mental curse of, okay, I can get through this. I got through that bad day. Today's another day. Like I always tell people, I said, sometimes you got to rest to fight another day. The rest days are just as important as the days where you feel like you're fighting for everything, because it's just the pain and everything is taking over. And now I used to live in Florida. As I said, I moved up to New York. Now the heat and the humidity, I feel like and for lack of a better term, I feel like I'm on death's doorstep. Like the pain and the fatigue and I know people who, now the cold bothered me, don't get me wrong. I love snow, but when it snowed, that bothers me too. But it seems not as bad. And it's funny now. I know people who, of course, are on the complete opposite spectrum, where both does it. Whether it's heat and humidity or cold or whatever, they're always hurting.
Yeah, man.
So thankfully, I'm not as bad in the winter time. But I think the best part of moving up here, what I needed it. Now I left my family and everything else because the parents are down in Florida. My sister, brother-in-law, the nephew down there. But just with the humidity, and heat and humidity, of course, because it's always like 90, 95 with 100% humidity.
And what was the move to New York for health, or was it other circumstances as well took you there?
A little bit of both.
My
wife has to be up there. Her parents moved up here.
Okay.
But as far as health-wise, too, I was like, it'll be better.
Okay.
And like now, and I laugh because, and I'm going to look at my phone really quick. Hold on, because they said the humidity is going to be high here. So it's 79 degrees here right now.
Okay.
And the humidity is 55%. It's a little bit high. It's at 55% right now. And I'm like, shoot, that's, and I'm like, I'll take it. Like, June was hot. Okay, my parents came up in June to visit. And funny enough, it was warmer here, and the humidity was worse here than it was in Florida. I'm like, Mother, look at what you're doing. You brought your
She brought it with them, yeah.
And yeah, but it gets like that. But there was like that for like a week or so,
Yeah.
and then it went right back to, you know what I'm saying? So it was like,
It's not all summer.
if I got to deal with it, I'd rather deal with it for a week and then go back than
Yeah.
dealing with it all the way through the winter time too.
Yeah. How long have you been in New York?
Actually, a year, just over a
Okay,
year.
so it's
Yeah.
still pretty new. When you got there, did you get stuck straight into the MS activism, the MS community? How soon before you started making connections?
As soon as I got here,
Yeah.
the MS, the ones who I connected with there, they knew. So, and I knew the one who was doing it here in New York too, because I met her when we did it all in DC the year prior.
Okay.
So it wasn't, it was a smooth transition up to New York. I mean, the only new thing was meeting all new people, because of course different state, different legislators.
Of course, yeah.
So, well, of course now building the relationships here with those people, and it's more than it's the staff members too, because a lot of times you're going to talk to the staff member, but even I tell the new people who come on who are just starting, I'm like, that's just important because the legislator trusts those staff members to get all the information, and they're going to relay all that. They're going to relay your message. So don't be discouraged that you're only meeting with the staff member. You're not meeting with the legislator.
Definitely.
You're meeting with the staff member. They trust that staff member. So whatever that staff member tells them.
Right. Okay. You've made me think of something else. I know that when I got diagnosed, I began to actually try and join the dots from symptoms to diagnosis, and then I began to try and figure out, was there anything before the more obvious symptoms? Did you have anything going on that you look back on hindsight and think, that might have been a sign?
Now, see, just remind me, because I was thinking about that earlier, forgot all about it, going into the train of thought. But once I got diagnosed and I started researching, I started like, okay, well, I've had this problem before. I've had this problem before. So I started connecting the dots. And I'm like, that's it. Now, I always said, I always believed that my MS is from the burn pits in Iraq. Now, it's funny, since I got approved here, now all of a sudden they're like, yeah, it is. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're admitting it too, because no family history of it. Now, granted, of course, they say it's a part of it, but it's not a huge part of it. But I'm like, all these veterans, all these military members who get in, and MS is a big thing of those who are around the burn pits.
I was going to say, so is that becoming more and more common or more and more visible?
Yeah. So the big three, of course, with the burn pits have come out. Now, of course, it's still fresh, because we even though we were there for, starting back in 2001, well, Iraq 2003. It only ended a couple years ago, so they're still doing that. So of course the data's still coming out. But they said like the big three is cancers, of course, ALS, and MS, which not to downplay the other two, because those two are very serious with ALS and cancer, and I never wish that on anybody. I was like, well, if I got MS, if I had to choose the three, I would choose MS. Much better than any cancers or ALS. But unfortunately, we've had veterans die of cancer and of course ALS, and the fact that they're coming a lot earlier now, because look at those in Vietnam, they've had to wait decades for them to even say it. The PACT Act, and they call it the tax of burns, that goes all the way back now. So those people who are finally getting their justice of that, but sadly, they've had to wait decades,
Yeah, bureaucracy just gets in the way of anything, and it's always stalled, it's always pushed down the road, and another legislator comes in and it gets kicked further down the road, and nobody wants to take the responsibility and pay the bills, and it's just, we get the same things over here for different reasons, but I can't even say it. Bureaucratic politicians, they seem more concerned about the next term in Parliament than they do in actually doing the right thing sometimes.
I saw a video, and I wish I could remember the comedian's name, which was funny because coming from a comedian, and you don't see the how it started beforehand because of course they cut the clip.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "What are your thoughts on veterans?" He goes, "What about them?" He goes, "We need to stop worshiping them then." And I'm thinking, huh? He's like, "You know what the smartest thing this country did, which is not too smart, but what they thought was smart, is they got everyone to worship the veteran because it was cheaper to worship the veteran than take care of the veteran."
Wow. Yeah.
And he goes. So how about we stop worshiping them and push back and make the country start, taking care of them? And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, that's true though.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
There's lots of kind of sending thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And I'm sure that's more than just here.
Oh, it's everywhere. Absolutely, it's everywhere. When there's sorry, on you go.
I'll tell you a funny story. So I was in Afghanistan.
Okay.
All right. Now we shared a base right alongside the British, the UK.
Yeah.
And it was funny because when Prince Harry would come in, of course it would be top secret, but you always knew when he came in because when you're walking around, you're like, "There's a lot more people here, and a lot more people. I mean, security people."
Yeah.
Like we knew it was, but it was July 4th, right? And they were like, "Man, when you go over there, tone it down. We don't gotta go gloating about July 4th." And I'm like, I don't think nobody's gonna care. Nobody was born, 200 years ago. Who really cares?
Yeah.
And they didn't care. But it was funny that they were like, "Man, don't be gloating." I'm like, "Man, you act like this was just yesterday." Really?
Yeah.
Strong allies now. No one really cares what happened.
It's funny, you're drinking Coke there. After the lumbar puncture, that's what I drank when you were saying you weren't hydrated enough. I got 4 cans of Coke straight after the lumbar puncture that was given to me. Say, drink them, lie on your back for an hour or 2 hours, then you can leave the hospital. So yeah, the Coke certainly did its thing. With your activism, do you find you're doing... Do you do it for ex-vets or vets, ex-vets? Do you do it for veterans as well as local folk, or is it just MS in general? Do you find yourself getting taken down a particular route when you're talking to the politicians?
So here's what I do, okay? And this is why I think, they use me a lot as well, coming from the veteran, side too, because they do a lot of stuff with the veteran. Of course, the MS fundraising is under the Department of Defense bill.
Okay.
All the time. So, but when I go there, I always and they don't mind. I always, push about the VA care, how horrible it is, how we need to fix the VA.
Yeah.
So I'm all, I was trying it. So now I had a meeting with a staff member in late July, and he was doing stuff about the VA, and I'm like, "Hey, when you start that stuff up, call me. I will talk to you," because we talked a lot about the VA and everything else, and I told him about the shortcomings, of the VA. In fact, that I've gone through 6 neurologists since I've been diagnosed with MS. So, in 7 years, 6, actually I'm about to go on my 7th. 2 I never saw because they gave me a new neurologist by the time I had the appointment. Then that neurologist already left. So, I mean, if you don't want to count them, okay.
Okay, yeah.
So I finally, but this one here, the one that I just had, who's now retiring and leaving again.
Okay.
She was the first one who was knowledgeable in MS.
Okay, yeah, I understand, yeah.
That's my first neurologist when I was first thing. So I went 5 years without someone who was specialized in MS.
Yeah.
Now, when that first neurologist left, that was it. They lost their MS specialty or whatever. So this one up here, they specialize in MS. So finally now I have one where we actually have, neurologists who specialize in MS. So that's good. But now it's leaving. But now it's like trying to get an appointment.
Okay.
Like, okay, we won't give you an appointment. Well, I still don't have an appointment. So when's my next appointment going to be? I don't know, but I'm, going to hound them and hurry up.
When was your last MRI?
My last MRI wasn't too bad. My last MRI was March.
March, okay. But your last chat, your last conversation with a neurologist, a specialist, when was that?
April. So not too bad, because usually I go every 6 months. But for neurologists, those spots, they fill up quick.
I
You're
bet.
making
Yeah.
2 or 3 guys. So it's like, okay, so when's this guy going to come? So then I can make an appointment. I said, because you're going to wait till October when he shows up. I probably won't get it till January, which is still good. It's still within a year. Usually I was doing it every 3 to 6 months
Okay.
to see the neurologist.
Yeah. Okay.
But
And you said
I
your last
just want to see it.
sorry, your last MRI was okay. There was no new lesions.
No new lesions. And the only reason why they did that is because I've been having hip trouble.
Okay.
So they want to make sure that wasn't from the MS. So that's just a whole complete thing, So
Well,
that's another thing I got to do.
that's the thing. Other stuff goes wrong as well.
Yeah.
And
But
yeah,
they were like, let's make sure, let's see. So now this is not MS. So of course, before now they do that because they did the MRI, of course, the brain all the way down the spine. But now it's before they want to do any imaging on the hip. Oh no, you got to do physical therapy first. So I got to do some physical therapy for a few weeks, and then we'll see.
Okay, so do the physio and then go back.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Which is funny because talking to physical therapists, they're like, it's funny, because more than just the VA, but all insurance companies do it. They want you to do the physical therapy first.
Yeah.
They're like, but the physical therapy is more expensive. They think it's cheaper. What they're hoping is the physical therapy will fix it, and then they don't got to pay for the imaging.
Yeah.
When most of the times they got to pay for both anyway. So why don't you just start with the?
Just get it done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it checked out. Oh man. Okay. Well, I hope it doesn't come to anything. I hope it is just some physical thing that can be remedied with some physio and maybe different kind of exercises and rest, and it's not connected to anything more sinister than that.
Yeah.
That's so big. I mean, I'm 54 now, so I have to just accept I'm in the the second half of my life. So anything that happens, I don't automatically think, is that MS? Actually, it could just be getting old, Barney. You're getting on in your age. As much as you want to believe in the head, you're young. Physically, 54 years takes its toll. Old age brings its friends. So, right. What was I going to ask you? MS activist, MS warrior. So another thing on your bio that you've got on Twitter, you've got loads there. The district activist leader, the USMC vet, the sports, is it the New York Yankees, the Knicks, the Giants, NASCAR, all that good stuff. But you've got yourself as an MS warrior as well.
Yeah.
And I guess the orange hair or red hair. Is it orange? Have you decided what colour it is this time?
Yeah. I'm guessing it's like when I've cut it, when I've like taken some pictures in the light, it looks orange. It looks like reddish orange.
I think it's orange. I think it's orange.
And at this point, I'm like, you know what? It looks more red. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's going to be, in a month, it's going to be pink. October, it'll go pink. It always goes pink in October, of course, for breast cancer awareness.
Fair play.
So I've done different colors. I'm like, if this ain't orange, it's more of a fiery red, whatever, orange, whatever.
Yeah, it's orange, man.
I don't care. I'll run with it.
But you call yourself an MS warrior.
Yes.
Why do you call yourself an MS warrior?
I think all of us battling MS are warriors. Fighting the battle every day. Sometimes it's an accomplishment just to get out of bed and take a shower.
Yeah, man.
But hey, we're all battling the fight. Some of us a little bit more, some of us a little less. But in the end, we're on the same boat. We're battling. So that's what I put. I'll put MS Warrior.
Yeah.
I actually got that tattoo on the back of my leg.
Have you really?
I got the orange. Let's see let's see if I could show it on there without.
Let's have a gander, yeah. Ah, yes.
You got the orange ribbon. This is MS Warrior.
Yeah. That's a decent size as well.
Oh yeah. Let me tell you what. That hurt.
Of course, I
had MS at the time, and it was pain. I was crying. I was not really crying, but I had the tears coming down. They're like, well, we can stop. I'm like, nope.
And you get pain, and you've got pain in your legs anyway because of the MS. Plus, you're getting a tattoo going on.
Oh, that probably was a huge bad decision. But in the end, I love it. It was worth it. But I'm like, we ain't stopping. It ain't going to be a half tattoo. Let's finish it.
You've not come this far to come this far. You got it done.
Yep, I was like, yep, we're gonna get it done.
That's
Which
super.
is funny, the one on my arm, I got the one of the arm here of like a tree and a
Okay.
nebula in the background with two kids swinging with my daughter's names.
Oh, that's lovely.
And I said that didn't even hurt. Like it hurt some. Like I felt it like at the end, you know, when they were when doing the shade.
Yeah. But
other than that didn't really feel
not the lines. Good for you. I do like a good tattoo. Conscious of your time and you've got your family there. You've been on this journey now 2016, 6.5 years, I guess. We're kind of heading towards 2025. You're clearly heavily involved as an activist, as an MS warrior, locally and statewide, and that must have a ripple effect across the US as a whole. You're obviously having some sort of impact.
Yeah.
I don't know, so I'm going to make a bit of an assumption, but I would think you've in that time you'll have met people who have began on the journey themselves, and I wonder if you have, or if you would, what advice do you give, or would you give for people that find themselves where you were in 2016 with getting a diagnosis or getting close to a diagnosis, which is ultimately multiple sclerosis?
Yeah. Research. You know, research is key.
Yeah.
You know, because of course it's a scary thing. You know, especially if you don't know what MS is. Is do your research the symptoms. It's not the end of the world. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a fight. But you know, you got to keep the head down and keep pushing. And like I said from beforehand, I said, you know, there's some days that you're going to feel like you can't do nothing and whatever, and that's still okay. If you sometimes like I said, it's just important to rest, to fight another day, than it is to quit. You know, so hey, do that research, look at all things, talk to a lot of people, because you're not the only one.
No.
Plenty of people out there with MS on all different spectrums, so it's good to get a wide variety of views from everyone and everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, you'll find who you want to talk to.
Yeah.
Because there's some people, let's face it, they don't want to talk about it, and that's understandable.
Did you?
Know, and
Sorry, man. Did you come public pretty much straight away, or did you take some time before you let people know what was going on?
I came public straight away.
Yeah, I think I did. No, I never. That's bollocks. I never. It took me 2017. It took me probably a year and a half before I started sharing it. My wife, we weren't married at the time, but when we got married, actually giving our vows to each other. I've shared this before. At the bit where you say, "And in sickness and in health," we both looked to each other because we both knew, and we gave each other a bit of a smile, which was kind of just our own little private thing. And then it was probably about a year after that began to let the kids know what this, because I'm still trying to I can't speak. I'm still trying to rationalise why I came out, being what I consider relatively okay. I've got symptoms. I've got stuff which has been left behind because of the symptoms that I had, but physically nobody can see that. It's only me that can feel the numbness, the tingling, the pins and needles, all that crap, and other stuff. I was probably more worried than what I let on, which is why I think I told people in case bad things began to happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I think it was I just didn't want them seeing things happen without any explanation beforehand.
Yeah, I think, and especially too, because a lot of people knew what I was dealing with, you know, doctor visit after doctor visit. So it was good to finally have an answer.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So then a little bit after that is when I started like tweeting more about MS. Like I had it, people knew I had it.
Yeah.
But then I started talking about the symptoms, and like I let people know too, because I talked about sometimes symptoms that I didn't have.
Yeah, okay.
But I thought it was important to talk about those symptoms as well.
Yeah. Well, there's nearly, I think there's 25 symptoms, 26 different symptoms attributed or can be linked with MS.
What's that? Sorry.
I think there can be something like 25 symptoms, 26 symptoms, which can be linked to
Yep.
MS.
Yep. There's a lot of them, and there's of course there's I think like 12, 13 like big ones that that has lots of relevance, and then some fewer people have.
Yeah. I've got a couple other questions. Well, I've got one other question, and then a music one. I'm not heavily involved with the local group here in Perth where I live. I kind of dip in and out, probably more because I just got other stuff to do. But I kind of also feel I want to show my support when I can, and I'm trying to do that more than what I did. As a local support groups in your community where you live in New York.
Now there was one in Florida I know. Here I don't know.
Okay.
I know
It's
there's
a big place.
Now why there's no support group. I know a lot of people who talk to a lot of people who talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people who have been there.
Yeah.
So it's there. It's there. And I know if you go through the MS Society here, they can put you in touch with something. I know there's MS groups here. I just don't know where it is here.
Yeah, that's cool. But you're doing other stuff.
Yeah. I know it's probably bad, but I don't go to the support group. I'm sure there's probably one here.
Yeah, like I say, I think I've only been to the one where we live a couple of times in the last 12, 18 months, and they meet every month, and I'm either doing stuff or sometimes travelling back, and it's like, I'm just not going to go tonight, I'm too tired,
Yeah. Now, I've met a lot of great people here.
Yeah.
I talk to people from all over the state, because, New York is a good 6-7 hour drive from one side to the other.
Yeah.
So I know people 3 hours to the west of me, all the way to 3 hours to the east of me, all the way to 2 hours up north.
Yeah, because I forget, like most people, New York's a big state. It's not just New York City.
Yeah. I was laughing. I saw a video the other day. It was like someone from the UK. And they're driving stateside, and the GPS was like, stay on this road for 300 miles, and they were like, I gotta drive how long on one road?
Yeah, long roads. From the tip of England to the tip of Scotland is about 900 miles in total. So that's it. And it's not one long road. There's the roads that up here. There's a lot of back roads. That's been brilliant, Brian. Music. Did you get a chance to think of a tune, a song?
Funny because when I'm in the car with people, even with friends, they hate when I do the radio. Because they used to call me, back when I was in the military, they used to call me DJ Half Song. Because I get halfway through the song and I'd be like, I'm ready for the next song. It could be one of my favorite songs, but I'm like, Or it's like I don't feel like there's one day where I'm into a song. And then the next day I'm into a complete different song, and the song that I like, I still like it a lot, but I'm trying to look for this song.
What was the last song you listened to?
I am a huge Billy Joel fan. Like forever. Seen him twice in concert.
Oh wow, that'd be cool.
I love Luke Combs too. Luke Combs lately.
Luke Combs. I've never heard of him.
I don't think he has a song that I don't like. He's country.
Luke Holmes.
So yeah.
Any Luke Holmes track? Anything that you can recall?
Oh, he's got the one "Ain't No Love in Oklahoma" that he sang for that Twisters movie. It's upbeat. It's good. It's good.
I'm going to dig that out. Ain't No Love in Oklahoma. But Billy Joel's brilliant. He's amazing. You kind of forget how long he's been around as well. He's got a huge back catalogue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny because he just put out last year. He just put out a new song for like the first time in like 30 years.
I'm gonna dig that out as well. I do like him.
Yeah. He's got some good music.
So what's next for you in the activist part of your MS journey? What's up next?
We have our meetings like every month. We're gonna go. This one, of course. It's on a little bit of a hold per se, because we're getting to the time where it's going to be September. All of a sudden, it's going to be October,
Yeah.
and then it's the elections in early November.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got to wait all the way until January until they sit. So it's lame duck.
Right.
You're
Okay.
basically. So I mean, they'll get some stuff done, but not a lot of stuff. Especially if they didn't get reelected, they're not going to care. They don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's sometimes, hey, you got to start all over again, and meet someone new and start connecting with them.
More relationship building.
Yep. So.
Well, good luck with it.
Thank you.
Definitely going to keep an eye on you. We'll need to keep in touch so I can see what you're doing and where you're influencing things in the States. Because the MS Society, you'll know better than I do. Is the MS Society in the US, is it connected to the MS Society in the UK? Do they have like a connection? They must have some sort of link.
I'm sure they have a connection. I know. The other day it was MS Day in Canada.
Right. Okay.
So I was doing a lot of tweets for that. Even though I'm not in Canada, I'm not close to Canada.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a few hours from it. It's not like it's a drive, but they were having a thing at A&W there, which was the fast food joints.
Okay.
If you buy one of their burgers, $2 went towards the MS.
Society. That's cool.
So I was putting a lot of tweets out about that, which they ended up coming back. They thanked me for it. And I'm like, hey, I wish I could help. I said, the only thing I can help is with some tweets for some people there in Canada. I said, that's the best I can do, but it helps to get the word out.
All publicity is good publicity, isn't it? That's what they say. There's no such thing as bad publicity.
I knew people in Canada who didn't even know that was going on. I'm like, there you go.
Yeah, because I see the US one getting shared a lot. I think MS Day in the UK is June.
Yeah.
I think it's June. I can't remember.
For World MS Day?
It might be. I'm sure. Yeah.
World MS Day is May 30th.
May 30th. Right. Okay. Maybe it's that.
And I know our MS awareness here in the States is every March.
That's been an absolute pleasure, Brian.
Great talking to you.
I've loved that. We'll need to keep in touch. I want to hear how you progress with all the work you're doing through the MS Society and your activism and stuff. But
I see on Twitter I put the check mark on there, so when you tweet it comes up.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, I'll do the same with you. I saw your tweet wondering if you'd been kind of, I don't know what the term is, but if you were getting put in the back room and nobody could see the stuff that you were doing. But I can see your tweets loud and clear, and I'll share them when I see them.
Yeah.
Magic, man.
I do the bar when people walk by and everything else. And
Yeah. No, that's cool. Listen, I hope you have a lovely Sunday afternoon. Thank you for taking the time out of your day with your family and that in the background. Thank you to them as well for letting you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Peace. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.